She's so done. Okay, so I'm telling a Disney story. Sorry. It'll be okay. So once there was a king and a queen, obviously like any other story, who had a kingdom called Corona, and they had tried and tried and tried to have a child, and it just seemed completely impossible. Well, one day they were finally blessed with a beautiful little blonde-haired baby girl, and she had abnormally long hair. And so one night, to skip all the gists of, oh, the greatness of a new baby, one night they were laying her down to go to sleep, and they thought, just typical night, laying her in her crib, she's gonna go to sleep, check on her in the night, whatever. But someone else was watching them lay her down to sleep. This older woman by the name of Mother Gothel knew the supernatural power that Rapunzel possessed in her hair. And so after the king and queen had left her room and figured she would just go right to sleep, they heard her crying frantically like 5 minutes later. And when they ran inside to see what was the matter, Rapunzel was gone. She was not in her crib. She was nowhere to be found. The crying had stopped, and Mother Gothel had kidnapped her and ran her to this secluded tower out in the middle of nowhere, far away from the kingdom, where she could never be found. So they were in the tower, and Rapunzel begins to grow, and she's never been exposed to the outside world. She doesn't know what fresh air is. She doesn't know what grass feels like. She doesn't know anything about nature. She's never been outside of this tower. And each night, or each year, this one specific night though, she watches these, what she believes to be stars, outside of her window. And after she began to get older, she was like, I don't think those are stars. I think those are some sort of lights. And so she runs to her mother and she's like, Mom, I think that there's lights in the sky. And her mom's like, no, you're dumb, they're stars, go back to bed. And she's like, no, I'm so sure though that they have some sort of significance, and I can't help but feel like they're for me. And she's like, Rapunzel, you are absolutely ridiculous, just forget about it, they're nothing significant. And so after being shut down once again every single year, she just begins to give up hope on ever figuring out what these truly are. But by age 17, she realizes, I'm gonna get outside. I'm gonna go figure out what those lights are. And she again runs to her mother, Mother, can I go outside? Can I go outside? Please, please, please. No, Rapunzel, it's not an option. Forget about it. And so her mother begins to change the subject. What do you want for your birthday? Let's just focus on that. Your birthday's, tomorrow, and you haven't told me what you want for your birthday. And she's like, well, since I can't go see the lights, I guess I'll just take something normal like paint or, some kind of food, like something like that. She's like, okay, well, I'm gonna get you paint for your birthday. And so her mother leaves to go get this specific special paint that she has to travel like 3 days to get. And so, Rapunzel kind of had this little agenda. I can get her out of the house maybe, and then I can find some sort of way to escape out of here and go figure out what they are. And so her mother leaves, and she begins on her journey to figure out what these are, or to go get the paint. And one night, Rapunzel hears this noise like outside of the tower, like at the bottom, and it begins to like, get closer and closer until finally she realizes that this figure had just fallen through her window, and she's like freaking out, like she doesn't know people, she's never seen a person other than her mother. And so she runs out and sees this man, and she just stares at him like he's some foreign creature or whatever, and he doesn't know what's going on or anything like that. But they begin to talk, and he's like, I can take you to those lights. I I can help you figure out what those are. And she's like, okay, absolutely, like anything to get out of here. And so they begin this journey to figure out what these lights are, and she's, intrigued by the grass, like, oh my gosh, it's green, I can touch it. And, the water, she's never felt water on her feet before, she's jumping, looking around, and he's like, you're so obnoxious, what are you doing? And so they are on their journey, but Mother Gothel is also on her journey, and she encounters this palace horse, and her immediate reaction, Rapunzel, oh gosh, like she knew that having something to do with the kingdom that close, they're going to figure out where she is. And so she runs back and she's yelling at the bottom of the tower, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. There's no response. So she begins to rip apart the bricks, climbing up the tower, doing all she can to get up to it. And when she runs out, she realizes that she has to make it her agenda to find her at all costs. And so meanwhile, it's getting dark, it's getting dusk, and Flynn Rider's his name, and he takes her to this water that has, this big view of a huge kingdom, a castle, and Rapunzel's like, what was that? Like, I have my tower and everything, but I've never seen anything like that before. And so he gets her in the boat, he's like, I have a surprise for you, but we have to wait for it. And so they sit and they're waiting and they're talking, and he begins to tell her about how, I've never been concerned about anything besides money. And she begins to tell him her dream, and she realizes that along the way she found a new dream, and it doesn't matter what situation you're in, you can always find a way out, even when you're trapped. And along finding your